I want to create a world in which my son is proud of what we don't care about some of that season the parts that I had to grow up might seal is this unveiled to, and in their minds on steroids of ones were elms. Chuffed is he offered us we need to I need thee a little boy it's luckier than a Harry and each or it's kinder Edward and more. She does guns land is shook yet not in thee cooning if you're familiar the need us met under not least Uber Prince William the state touch not one lung students are on soon imminent speculate soon had their Buckingham Palace endless and of itself a clear up the game. The Alice friended coon Nicholas your fans on to show up than teeth, but often fund is a towering knock. The Steve a white fan, and at our Oscar lose touch bus would have asked him to prove didn't Cooney the in their policy listening of a bag contra oyster a farm and beauty guns of our hide you buddies a hat surveys, and that when a guy from D. Cooning leaves an uncool to go the long enough for Colonel. In these are not was younger really still in Palestine saves when so sheen Reagan's laws distiller seen lotter it's good when the loved food is each whereon Prince William talk loudly as I tend to sign manifest on this could soon thank exist in shrub and least a half blocks to me so I can for all 16 the scene as I will Tina music on Netflix, but see going to sign up for dealing the include Canton Zach. The distiller design a big moment on GOP feel house hinted in my wonders pilasters leaked as it was does Alice for, and not going to IU to Aberdeen sudden them in the than Hutton. In Princeton gains in the Titans isn't enough to flog I know moment a botanist of me about. Either stammets it at a bus the of indicted or does his envoy voice to see Hutton decent distance yet and outlook and zone out and Sean I've mapped a hard to imagine them outlook before. And is really good and tried on top of sign him snipe. As in August was lagging popular first white I noted spoof mid dem coo Nick Leeson button to photos would prefer. I'd set to air quotes was I not applies that seem like an ensign as I too often daddy tint of on a fish the princess and fun way it's just over in them students alone does Adelaide Cottage bite back orange leave the kinder either Klein of would be good. For the spinal indemnified loved needn't ye stunt. And if I guess that the T-design student and kite, and on booged advice, does boot of them come means I'm awake decades of Maxim Kite as well for ya an Oscar nominee vodden I'd say got a guy that a ton on for police to in not nifty I fight for doing Totten bitter lost in an auto-resigned fleet as he lies. A BMC mid dem finger you by William Scott and discussed for Devon Thousand and so on Santas like the Your Stories deployment. The East Austin also have fun when so far been enabled good when demoed rough on voting for addict shine of effort to his tongue didn't go height as Williams auto status you buddy lunch off for as Schweiger dar there about on the public of the philosophers. Cost of forces to lifted the father speak it had to for lung outside galorn dustman enjoy moment neat still do after. In look Spiegel looked at airplanes Massey got went alto it's muscatine van sock to enough I know lung poser fast Susie serves the month and Palace was the busy good now Google misses 100 to despicable at soon nominee it provides so sidewalk Vulcan Gabba school listed as Williams. The of it was also given his for, but I did as he staggers. Good tide to stay inside his father's to first left and begun Williams plant food in torn so to undersign at Alice was course battalion Busek ASEAN had to would annoy the giving sight afford to Noya Reagan signed an idiotic mana heat so to Fuku see it up on Kleiner Zine when did deeds and folk punk style dingle issuance of oh good vibe of I'd snowed so 100 and entitlements it from these apps the fog and sun who fling about is good and commit an act of R as in flew than the slots as fast still of was younger these vode involve enough. How's its look the key leaving by a 2-ton and vaulted in the air to their Biden desert methods devices yarn for de-cooning the familiar hobby to so it's the lies. It was 3 of us last that to have signed short on this is the and starts does this discuss Greek Owsley least of constantly it must be off given listen when vast be yet on top of the of and sequence nice tune couldn't and flew stutter the younger the assistant Nick the doctor urbanists the L to the man van to this depressed didn't tepid so will through our lives. Sure to the flew the believe that's just my glutes the zog have a mac to Eliza as its discretion offered to had to as expedites incident Kate stunt funny even klutserve and get some fence that's a look does of wins or he knows skiing the gotten 2,000 buff on items the building blues on least a hit William how to flew or and his Muslim I was in the plans or by yet been one of steel. Published his invent week when the victim who spends dish and Spiegel glass plaza how to move out with enhanced us when it was born become him blasted far as would I work as GOP human of kind enough it saves the glove does hurt enough least about accompaniment. House of flues that is even on season for I not matter went and lesson at swung not made of them student. In Oster whole wheat somp lungs I'm hella would get it as outage least some Cooney Gleason towards the look lungs and thought William he knows as the else in Scotland as Morgan's saying, but we hadn't owner, and what's the og nick the at investment so good king. Be though he 9 so bad scenes on Stanton the Biden a 2-ton of for this dish flock to I know. Oh the coo Nicholas your who height is Alison lot, no fatiguing deem it saves lots of 2 and hadn't kept us feel it includes the garden William, he had lung and in a vaunted in bleak up on moment done a lot in a long enough to boot or house. Scientists hit a heightened of the mom or Borden veto as it influent lungfish want us for ya. And then I'm but some of our Lawson, and with home office life no off and league William have noted as target book. Does it look a lesson had to when does if he and Skype Tish egging sign of who haven't about, and with these orc fair discuss the being gone went, and plan and Hilton their lungs and state another comfort of our needy off gabber, and is more nice and a Saddam, it's a tune it was also gave him David Vitter by, a design is all masses and the either, but I chuffed bad elected and stuff by to leaders it's a look on Monsieur Disease to schliefen slightly cool to in the mood is cut I'm from L it's design vogue and be a hoof avoid indeed, and for 2 stoned, it interested of on the corner to into the, and by Targus and of bought us loss of act on season we're also group, plus you noyer 8 and chuffed so shots western the understating and lies or sons with a vacancy loud laws in then flew than Hauschka. And is added some are born with distiller Kate's telephones on to in Windsor as far and enough least Austin policy not before the last of start at your hats it was had to the fore, and not as valuable rights because the heart of the early tea therefore, and for don't want their consequences had to the dealership the last night, as that's the elite and a break today dead so cool to get Cooney from England half an inch I don't the but the mana he Indian good fast. And should enjoy to have hike been vague 2 Sundays off the cliff and far to boost enable when didn't ask Mr. Fine this morning's the village. Leaf fighter on it so on and does it get audited 54 and that had to when does the I just stability and production by the corner noon and in Hinton and Usman is locked up of I was it to for and on Musk shot you'd have taught safely on these mortgage for and tool than does Palaster's lessons he wants, does Eichner, does often does Cooney guys on Demona he gone. League 4, and that hot damn moment in Demas Impala's still water and these Morgan was for in Buckingham Palace wouldn't really only still a good I'm under Ottoman heighten the reporter happens if we for summit either objective of on for the kill to the slog either come. Of us have to impose on shots, and to have a good lifted all a student us it was before stand up and namer. Fact it's a peculiar investor sign come to identity not was a second does Muscatine would go seek describe Buddha seasons oh God forgives its look to heighten than of Newton's is the reason to and it's the 1-9 fluke glass and never thought I'd for treated. As could exhales as have 4 when healed anger fight at district puppy yeah fest on climate at weirdest 1,000 foot that the come on our certain have to clicking when dusk and moment for stumped up hope did sight change due to stay in the stewardess place else I'd see endless clung valve week of a fuller of our team at Wharton Council Bush via Bedwin in a mid-island some isn't dust sign a coup nuclear warheads Dublin's fun way its debts. Sight mit, and sure didn't go soon tides probably him to came from hut these are clear on wood and Normans I know my estate to school next would take his I'm, and König Leeson familiar up your game the Donner in eine cut it, olla heighten the water. Wieder the report of our going so fast and laws on the supervising who nine fluster to any young journalist, and when he is done the hunt, for want the under the stop 9-5 new are often Palaster puts the still Canada when Saga Milan coolest victim as Vida pregnant to about half of American decooning for oysters bizarre and bought a movie about the prince the best Mogadishu had been handling a huge I'm. Given funds are enough Amelia mentioned since the Mac and Svedka she doesn't zealots is in one of these. Hints who are biting teeth Bezagen license 5 water out in the minutes incidents to done something either for stunt bust us, but died at a disadvantage the norm for life was and started their policy to get to do not least for blighted as a snail and guns London. The lightest like Tyler a scene of built Sherman and booze, I'll just a bot who's on coffees Prince William to. I am should be and Gesundheit problems, who came from dimension, he mitten of Eton Victor about in the on disliked silence why might I listen in the hope no does the it was inadvertent. Least Williams octa in a 4 cm I think sent on Bloom and called to the never muzzle stock in the near the screen park shouldn't have and taxi father the cop does like could is a familiar moment to our empire last house to Allgemeinen with the understood and beacons issue buying you because couple out of be woman would do student bleak. Cooney Charles Smith defaulted and Henton bit anger followed them because on plus a halt and on Skype dish and an improve often. But summit bleak of the gotten the song fight knowns I know open wouldn't do it doesn't the Isaac Aleashed is due to the London. Or him it's dust least offense to few not BitTorrent Cooney good Camilla don't need him once cloth lies about Mr. The leaked on a hunt of the shooter to school next on fluster to ever emotions that of stacker gets blocked that ones have a child sneaked in new or wanted and bleak up with unwanted to needs a fort if annoyance once a Java out at sea cooning and voter when suffer from sponsors of it came from his minds on a comfort him Mozart days to for dimension Monga 2000 what goes on to ask come bloom. Munch toy them it. And is in the teats and done an ice in the was digging does talk it looked would have caused Italian state into the a William Odoma Vita they haven't I get you to cook for in still under night and start up and under the iron. From Austin fenced and as Palasters on suit enough he hadn't and big woman is begun life Bush did it to weakness or did it? On Jack and wouldn't us Albany month make him laugh at us target come ghoulish to have thus far flung belong of us for him least one volume good are the yet seen as GOP you don't have gotten when the stock a good food us the in the hype. Them wanna hear it was for in that totter Neiman totter and Warden I'm not me talk show didn't the internet soon all is and a life so. Mid for this to be the wooden communication on a loose dish bally's an informer soon the from Palace, but I trusted wouldn't load item would have Ottawa toity buys auctions to school next of often does this home unannounced Angelique height 100 steps to dinner fonts and report on feels should be or the and would soon and in stem and suffer back and the off most of his sinjar length. A call from the quality food and east good sign if most is under start. And because October 9 voter the least I am Palace bleed get them from Prince Edward Princess and N on under the come to and I Prince Andrew, but thought London loud Quinn even fights. To China hinted to a lot, and an inside our state gets the familiar announce our still it wouldn't go after. Damn I know for she'd and hide and avoid us clinically she calendar by eye of the don't collide and Sanford is goodness least the talked Bob deep the atmosphere the divorce and finally these stars and vans which he glanced invite of Eden have to hurt her long enough. I booked a dongle I'd leave my any gets look when village to gain its obsolete outdated Yuga vi fun fort I'll vila feelia the. Lungwood a Prince William Fonda well as the we go hunting when he and his in I know for Leslie think a lesson the piss on in and outside this involves these his boot valued of politically sub often when sight Dinesh Mats least mentally his IT into a corner and Monday for let's that and conter and a familiar the also an under breaking conter I know tops off of would have on the scar. bar it does lets the lift and fence that as pilasters a loss when angst and lieber of I know that Palin sit on the hats and den of saves into Yahoo not long at how did soon want in a hype that was my one guns cause battalion B. To two in these are not go mines I'm fun and Princeton's Island so comforting cooning when dishwasher have no does it's luckier than verb. Musker shot at cyclists in these and bang and student enough to a clear on this pilasters begin villains of I know either with these at one time to conduct in the gospel Italian of the uncool sinus more I invited to the corner for stumped and is enough to its validity such to and she knew enough nafta clearly this pilasters even to Dawn who bought him packing. Him palace thing indeed do still and void in Milan teeth the loft by a food for. And as still it any months a stool and voc to decooning the familiar perfect as if we shut, and in a high desert desired my 1 year dug fun and an Zaina my agnon school or sleeper angst and own muftolacina vog, not a food funding of its and what the starts. Zan for on lungs I'm at wouldn't seem to stuffing a glutton the difference of for president is light on of listen talk a leapt about Jesus my vote as and us these how to nice Smith fleeced would our politics at all these ultimately blued when the island's efforts to these apps and Cooney goodness control thee and contour the angst and kids have fallen. Camilla slips to have I knew the upsets a club what the calm of the memo board. And so next shrieks of water vanished me his vice you that ain't for the geese to in the hunt of the shooter to league but mostly so it's olive water sleeveless moment. As humid I estimate its vision angst and with good food factor to the Justice Osborne char. Odds bleep legal laws as Dr. Vita often got me it. And as him I don't love would be couldn't enough to. And for else needs money Pulio even when. And at Luton does is it finance and a shite it finished him of I'll either on for him would. Soon couple often as a doctor we can and thought does is also own vents on zone lighted snaps visors kaka I'm well and tired thee is the step on muffed leaders I know how to eat it but helped by wouldn't need a small knife. Camilla nick the midlife for comfort or hunt and victim fenced a device garnished be stuck at least flew such as a child slip and fall 9 klein as listen does via Emma the princess and fun Wales sauce and kinda summer in Windsor bite back from Palestine the loft. Doctor did it sent novel of ended on Saturday vomit us laugh and sight George was often its fine. As it can you'll shoot early into decline and Louis climate as if Biden Hinton and Kate's ammo the haven't Scalotto still have them tippy sauce when discussing it on multiple buff that to avoid a fancier in the shown that student and Oscar shouted Vercon to Kate. Him on Orctus beat their policy tool them it in Bloomington have homes in solicitors and the study shallow. 2.5 to oust him deceased and sock to pop of it we dug isn't the kind of Nixon about kindness one in she beclook you but so its designer golf no advantage where Kate be buying business least the eye actually from a the hindered citizen. When him shrub unleashed the Bermuda as is for in one fuzzy starts design eyed is the heat of endless a locked. Due to augment floss and dinner going on in these I'm still in moment was in the princess and fun way it's Sivon were in the if thou the angst I'm even Manhattan Prince Harry's us a line and signing thus summer of the undersighted as us and wanted C to think as each shimmer to him least as fancy as if Vietnamese food investment as leaves vita him. And Indians to have this coach Dan dimension on voted as cuts organizers. Soon the eye was under the plots in mine I'm huts and I named Verdun Emma my minor understood somehow delighted silo talk to him of either and enough it of sign a coup Nicholas you will. Hide hundred and shredded dozen heights problems came from year to smiled often Indies of automatically set of oft then Amazon is Buddha bush. But often Beecham's I descended to thee. And doesn't need him of dem tishlock, zone dormant sweet dew by the animals, toss the ritzers in the hunt nom about a Qantas in the to looking Megan Ball buster to inform the 2 hours when the bizarre does as. I know because it's also look mood on good tools I just in unmoved flustered as Eliza Harry should it in cop movie, and devoter the taught. And it's good for dumb Zocchi bus to text and dig about the goings loss as fruit is actually a lot any onto a kilometer yodder. and one Oscars wasn't for let someone and get tenses. All these ago she's still on Eliza Lamb. Spirit and some my that like outside kind of all Alamo, or to armed via kind plans ever and Buddha, and zone, and then man does is not sign of a millions into defense that is Palasters in London liked it when she buff and Uncle hike Camilla when could a child slender and gamut leave twisty gotten does any Sega go voice but lies ignition phone keys into it, and then begin the glint logging this recycling disservice us bargains this out shite, and this leads by. I'm for Lawson this houses and under a lawyer for find ways to do for fun for blue. And was wondering if food to the loft the classic Odin blick to come Elaine on the not soon leaped in Zach dizzy shots nicked alleged Yamamoto to air of it. And beneath nice to have shot as long as it's been what and fought a D of sign's own huffed key. 8 Kuma as he can win, so I'm kinda your hats off the Vita about you because it's also look bigwig does disease meta flu stunt came to the George sadly least the Harbour Alice with could hardly stand online and fenced I'm at bleak of the smear it. Not its item telephone in the hunt about one fig in an unwilling to teaching his food is array.